So listening, spiritual practice of listening. Yeah, it actually is uh, a way to connect, because spiritual practices are just that, ways that we connect our life to the life of God, how we bring ourselves before God's presence. And those are spiritual practices. And one of those is listening. Actually, that's one of the most, we know prayer is communication, right? Back and forth. And so listening is an essential part of prayer, of that being in the presence of God. How do we learn to listen well? Because if you're like me, the world is filled with noise, whether it be our technologies or phones or whatever, right? We understand that kind of distraction noise, but there's also just noise. Even in this quiet room that I'm in today, there's noise from the birds outside. There's noise from my dogs barking at traffic. There's noise from the furniture squeaking. There's noise of the schedule in my head of all the things I have to do. There's all sorts of sources of noise in the world, and it's never just really silent, or rarely ever is it truly silent. So part of listening well is noticing what you're listening to. What are the voices that are speaking into your life? Listening well, we're listening for the promptings of God, right? We're listening for His voice. And so to listen as a spiritual discipline, you have to be tuned in. You have to be tuned in to God's voice. And that sometimes takes some real intentionality okay, I hear the background noise, and I got to hear through that. I got to listen through that, because our world is not going to be quiet. Our surroundings aren't going to be quiet. So we have to listen through the noise to hear the voice of God, discerning what is what. All right. So first thing you have to do is learn to listen by understanding what you're listening to. And then secondly is to learn to listen well. How do we listen well? It takes practice. It takes practice. It takes continuing to do it, right? It's not just, I'm going to get quiet and listen. No. It takes consistency to build this practice up in our lives, to kind of strengthen our listening, our heart, our ears, our minds. It takes patience, because it's not always easy to hear and discern what God is trying to do. And it also takes a seeking after God. It takes a searching for God, to focus in, to ask, looking for God to transform us, right? We have to look, we have to be intentional. That's how we listen well. We train ourselves to hear the voice of God, seeking to be transformed. And that produces the change in our lives that we want to receive in this relationship we have with the Lord. So I encourage you today, let's take a few minutes and listen. Listen with your heart. Listen with your mind, your eyes, and your ears. Listen. God bless you.